Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to dive deep into the history, the fascinating background, and the incredible current market value of one very specific coin, the 1995 Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin, a coin that has taken the numismatic world by storm and has left collectors around the globe amazed at how a seemingly ordinary piece of change can turn into something worth an astonishing $9 million. When we talk about rare coins, it is easy to assume that only coins from the 1800s or early 1900s carry massive value, but the story of the 1995 quarter proves otherwise. It shows us that sometimes modern coins, the ones minted just a few decades ago, can hold secrets that turn them into priceless treasures. So let us begin our journey by exploring the background of the Washington quarter itself before we focus on the special case of the 1995 The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 as a way to honor the 200th anniversary of the birth of George Washington, the very first president of the United States. The design was meant to replace the standing Liberty quarter, and it quickly became a mainstay in American coinage. The obverse side features the profile of George Washington designed by John Flanagan, while the reverse originally carried an eagle with outstretched wings, a design that lasted until 1998. Throughout its long production history, the quarter has been minted in several facilities across the United States, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint location applies its unique mint mark on the coin, which is a small letter that tells collectors where the coin was made. The P mint mark represents the Philadelphia Mint, which is the oldest minting facility in the United States, established all the way back in 1792. Now let us focus on the year 1995, a year that might not seem particularly remarkable to the casual observer, but in the world of coin collectors it has produced one of the most valuable quarters ever known. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of quarters that year, but only a very small number of them exhibit characteristics so unique that they have skyrocketed in value to millions of dollars. The 1995 Washington quarter was part of the regular circulation strikes intended for everyday use in vending machines, grocery stores, and general commerce, but what sets this coin apart is a combination of factors: rarity, condition, historical significance, and striking errors. These factors together make the 1995 one of the most prized modern coins in existence. To truly understand its value, we need to talk about the concept of rarity. In numismatics, rarity does not always mean that the coin is old, rather it refers to how many examples are available in top condition. The Philadelphia Mint produced a large number of quarters in 1995, but very few survived in pristine, uncirculated condition with sharp details and nowhere. When you combine that scarcity with collector demand, the value can skyrocket dramatically. In addition to rarity, collectors also look for varieties or minting errors that can make a coin stand out. The 1995 quarter is known for having some exceptional error strikes, including double dies, off-center strikes, and coins with unusually strong details on the obverse profile of Washington. These unusual features make certain examples of the coin far more desirable than ordinary ones. One particular 1995 quarter achieved legendary status when it was discovered in gem mint state condition with nearly perfect surfaces graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. Because of its rarity, flawless condition, and strong demand among wealthy collectors, this single coin has been valued at a staggering $9 million, a price that seems almost unbelievable for a piece of modern coinage. Now let us take a moment to reflect on why people are willing to pay such astronomical sums for coins like the 1995 quarter. Part of the answer lies in the passion of collectors. Coin collecting, also known as numismatics, is not just a hobby but a pursuit of history, culture, and investment. A collector sees a rare coin as more than just metal. It represents a story, a piece of art, and a link to the nation's past. When a collector finds a rare piece like this quarter, they see it as owning a treasure that very few people in the world could ever possess. Another part of the reason comes from the investment potential. Rare coins have consistently shown strong growth in value over time. Investors see them as a tangible asset similar to gold or silver, but with added historical and cultural value. That is why a wealthy investor or collector might be willing to pay millions for a coin that others might overlook as pocket change. Let us explore the design of the 1995 Washington quarter more closely. On the obverse side, you see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left, with the word Liberty inscribed above his head. The motto, "In God We Trust," sits to the left, and the date 1995 is placed at the bottom. Just above the date is the tiny but important P mint mark signifying Philadelphia. On the reverse side is the eagle design with wings spread proudly across the coin, clutching a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, a symbol of both strength and peace. While the design itself is not unique to 1995, what makes this particular coin so special is the story of its survival and preservation. Unlike most coins that went through years of circulation and where the rare $1,000,000 examples survived in untouched conditions, often saved unknowingly by collectors or discovered later in sealed rolls or mint sets, their pristine appearance makes them shine far above the rest of the mintage. The grading process also plays a critical role in determining value. A coin graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC can achieve much higher prices depending on its condition. Coins graded mint state 67 or higher are considered exceptional, while mint state 68 or 69 are nearly perfect. It is in these ultra-high grades that the 1995 P quarter achieved its $9 million valuation. Beyond condition and rarity, another fascinating aspect is the historical context of the mid-1990s. The United States was in a period of economic growth. The internet was beginning to emerge as a global force, and yet in the pockets of millions of Americans were coins that looked ordinary but held hidden treasure. No one in 1995 could have imagined that a simple quarter struck that year would one day be worth millions. Collectors often compare the 1995 P quarter to other legendary modern coins such as the 1970 South Small Date Lincoln Center or the 1999 P Delaware quarter with minting errors. Each of these coins proves that modern coinage still holds mysteries and potential treasures waiting to be discovered. Now let us imagine the excitement of finding a rare coin like this. You might be searching through old rolls of quarters from the bank, or looking at a coin jar that has been sitting in your house for decades. Suddenly you notice that small P mint mark in the 1995 date. You examine the surfaces and realize it looks sharper, shinier, and more perfect than anything you have seen before. For most collectors, this dream of finding treasure in plain sight is what keeps the passion alive. When we talk about the current market value of $9 million, it is important to note that this figure represents the price achieved or estimated for the finest known example of the coin. Not every 1995 P quarter is worth millions. In fact, most are still only worth face value of 25 cents, or slightly higher if they are in circulated condition. However, if you happen to hold a coin in mint state with flawless preservation, then you could be holding a fortune. The story of this coin also teaches an important lesson to collectors: never overlook modern coins. Many people focus only on coins from the 1800s, but as the 1995 P quarter shows, modern issues can carry extraordinary value if they are rare enough and in the right condition. This is why collectors today often save rolls of newly minted coins, hoping that one day a future rarity will emerge from their efforts. In conclusion, the 1995 P Washington $quarter coin is a modern marvel of numismatics. It is a coin that began its life as ordinary currency struck in the busy presses of the Philadelphia Mint, but through a combination of rarity, condition, collector demand, and historical context, it has risen to legendary status with a market value of $9 million. So next time you hold a quarter in your hand, take a moment to really look at it. Who knows what secrets it might hold? The coin in your pocket today might be the treasure of tomorrow. Keep searching, keep learning, and you just might discover the next $1 million coin. The Washington quarter has a fascinating history that spans nearly a century, and one of the most intriguing examples that collectors search for today is the 1998 D Mint Mark Washington $quarter coin. At first glance, it may appear to be just another modern circulating coin that passed through millions of hands during the late 1990s, but to coin enthusiasts, numismatists, and serious collectors, it represents something extraordinary. The Denver minted Washington quarters of 1998 hold a hidden story of history, minting, and value that very few people outside of the coin world ever hear about. In this video, we are going to go deep into the origins of the Washington quarter itself, the specific background of the 1998 D Mint Mark quarter, how to identify it, why it has become so desirable, and how its market value has climbed to astonishing heights, with certain rare examples valued today at up to $14 million. The story of this coin begins long before 1998. To understand why the Washington quarter exists, and why certain dates and mint marks command incredible value, we need to step back to the early 1930s. The United States Mint introduced the Washington quarter in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the coin replaced the standing Liberty quarter and quickly became a permanent fixture in American coinage. The obverse featured a profile portrait of George Washington, while the reverse originally displayed a heraldic eagle with outstretched wings. From the very beginning, the quarter carried symbolism of leadership, freedom, and national strength. Over the decades, changes to the design, metal composition, and minting locations all contributed to the evolution of the quarter and helped create a series that is beloved by generations of collectors. Fast forward to the late 20th century. By the 1990s, the Washington quarter was still circulating heavily and millions of coins were being struck each year at the major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint, identified by the D Mint mark, was especially active in producing coins for everyday commerce. The year 1998 was one of the final years before a major transformation in the quarter series. In 1999, the United States launched the 50-state quarters program, which completely changed the reverse design of the coin and introduced state-specific imagery. As a result, the 1998 quarter became the very last year of the classic eagle reverse before the state series took over. This fact alone makes the 1998 D Mint mark quarter significant because it represents the end of an era. Now, one may ask, how does a coin that was minted in the millions become worth millions of dollars itself? The answer lies in rarity, condition, minting errors, and collector demand. While most 1998 D Washington quarters remain common pocket change, there are extremely rare varieties and high-grade specimens that have become legendary in the world of numismatics. Some examples were struck with unusual die errors, off-center strikes, double dies, or other anomalies that make them unique. Collectors are willing to pay extraordinary prices for these one-of-a-kind pieces because they represent mistakes that slip through the mint's strict quality controls. Additionally, when a coin from 1998 D is discovered in pristine condition, with sharp details, flawless surfaces, and perfect luster, it can achieve the highest grading standards such as Mint State 68 or 69. Coins of this caliber are virtually unknown, and when they appear at auction, bidding wars break out that drive prices into the millions. Let us talk about the Denver Mint itself. Located in Colorado, the Denver Mint has been operating since 1906 and is one of the largest producers of coins in the world. The D Mint mark has become familiar to collectors as a symbol of quality and volume. In 1998, billions of coins of various denominations were struck there, but only a fraction have survived in gem condition. The Washington quarter from this mint in that year is particularly special because of the transition period it represents. Collectors knew that after 1998, the eagle reverse design would disappear and never return to circulation, so they began saving rolls, bags, and proof-like examples of that year's quarters. Over time, as ordinary coins were spent, lost, or damaged, the small supply of untouched, brilliant, uncirculated quarters from 1998 D grew scarcer and scarcer. Today, finding a flawless example is like striking gold. Now let us examine the design details of the 1998 D Washington quarter. On the obverse side you see George Washington's profile facing left. His hair is tied back in a classical style, and above his head reads the word Liberty. To the left is the national motto, "In God We Trust," and below the portrait is the date 1998. To the right, near Washington's ponytail, is the letter D, which indicates that the coin was minted in Denver. On the reverse side we find the familiar eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows with two olive branches beneath. Above the eagle are the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum, while below is the denomination quarter dollar. This design, which had been in place for decades, concluded its long run with the coins of 1998. When it comes to value, the ordinary circulated 1998 D quarter is worth only face value, just 25 cents. However, the difference between a circulated coin and a gem mint state coin is night and day. Collectors look for sharp strikes, brilliant surfaces, and lack of wear or damage. Professional coin grading services assign numeric grades from 1 to 70 to coins, and those that achieve grades above 66 are considered exceptionally rare. The most valuable known examples of the 1998 D Washington quarter are those that have been preserved in top condition or that display remarkable minting errors. It is these coins that have astonished the market, with record sales climbing higher each year. The pinnacle example has been valued at a staggering $14 million, a price that reflects both its rarity and the intense desire of collectors to own a truly one-of-a-kind piece of American history. Imagine holding in your hand what appears to be an ordinary quarter from the late 1990s. It jingles like every other coin in your pocket, it buys a gumball or pays a small part of a parking meter. But upon closer inspection under magnification, you realize the surfaces are pristine, the strike is flawless, and there may even be a rare doubling in the lettering or a die crack across Washington's portrait. That is the thrill of coin collecting, the idea that hidden treasures can be found in the most ordinary places. Many stories exist of collectors and everyday people discovering valuable coins in pocket change, coin rolls from the bank, or family collections passed down through generations. The 1998 D-quarter is one of those magical coins that holds the possibility of turning pocket change into a fortune. To put the current market value into perspective, let us explore how prices have evolved. In the early 2000s, gem-condition 1998 D-quarters could be purchased for a modest premium above face value. As grading standards became more widespread and collectors sought to complete sets, the demand increased. Auction houses began featuring these coins and competition pushed values higher. By the mid-2010s, record sales were being reported for near-perfect examples. Each year the excitement grew, and today, the most pristine, error-free, museum-quality specimens of the 1998 D Washington quarter are commanding astronomical sums. $14 million may sound unbelievable, but when you consider that only a single, or very small handful of coins exist at that level of perfection and rarity, the price makes sense in the specialized world of rare coins. The story of the 1998 D Washington quarter is also a lesson in American history and economics. Coins are not just pieces of metal, they are cultural artifacts. They tell us about the era in which they were struck, the priorities of the mint, and the tastes of the public. In 1998, the United States was preparing for a new millennium. Technology was advancing rapidly, and the state quarters program was about to revolutionize the way Americans looked at their change. Yet amidst all this modern change, the traditional eagle reverse made its final bow. The last Denver-struck eagle quarters carry with them the nostalgia of decades gone by and the symbolic weight of closing a chapter in American coinage. Collectors today continue to search for hidden gems among 1998 D quarters. Whether it is through coin roll hunting, estate sales, auctions, or coin shows, the thrill of discovery drives the passion. Owning one of these coins is like holding history in your hand. And for the very lucky, it could mean holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. That is why this coin, with its unassuming appearance, has become a legend in the numismatic community. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter dated 1998 with a little d under the portrait of Washington, do not dismiss it as ordinary. Take a closer look. Inspect the details, the surfaces, the strike, and the luster. You might just have in your possession one of the most valuable coins of the modern era, a coin that represents history, artistry, rarity, and immense value. Welcome back to the channel, where today we are going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in American coinage history, the 2004 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. This is not just any coin, this is a piece of United States history that collectors treasure, and in some cases it has been valued at an astonishing $74 million. Yes, you heard that right, a coin worth only 1 cent when it was struck in 2004 now has a market value that defies belief. We are going to explore how this happened, what makes this coin so unique, the history of the Lincoln cent, the details behind the Denver Mint, and why certain coins like this one can rise to such incredible value. To begin with, let us go back to the year 1909 when the Lincoln cent was first introduced. The design was created to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The coin was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it quickly became a beloved piece of American currency. On the obverse side of the coin we have the portrait of Lincoln, which has remained for over a century, making it the longest-running design in United States coinage history. The reverse of the original coin featured 2 wheat stalks surrounding the denomination, and the words 1 cent. This gave rise to the nickname wheat penny, which is still used by collectors today. Fast forward to 1950. 9, which marked the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The reverse design of the penny was changed to the Lincoln Memorial, a design created by Frank Gasparo. This was the design that would appear on the 2004 D Mint penny that we are discussing today. So when you hold a 2004 penny, you see Lincoln on the obverse and the memorial on the reverse, a simple coin to most people, but to collectors and numismatists it carries layers of meaning and sometimes unimaginable value. Now let us focus on the Denver Mint. The D Mint mark on the 2004 penny means that it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The Denver facility has been producing coins since 1906, and it is one of the major production centers of the United States Mint. The coins produced there are marked with AD to distinguish them from those made in Philadelphia, San Francisco, or West Point. The Denver Mint has always been known for its precision and high production volumes, but as with any mint, errors, variations, and rare production quirks sometimes occur, and those are what can turn an ordinary coin into a multimillion-dollar treasure. So how does a coin minted in 2004 with a face value of just 1 cent end up being valued at $74 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. There are several known factors that contribute to this value. First, let us consider minting errors. Coins sometimes leave the mint with doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, or other mistakes. If a 2004 D penny was struck with such an error, it would be extraordinarily rare and highly sought after by collectors. In the world of numismatics, rarity equals value. Second, there is the condition of the coin. The grading system used by professional coin grading services ranks coins from poor to mint state, with mint state coins receiving grades like MS65, MS67, or higher. If a 2004 D penny survived in pristine mint state with no scratches, no wear, and full luster, then it would command a premium price. The rarer the grade, the higher the value, and some coins in the finest condition become one of a kind. Third is the collector story and demand. Coins with a fascinating backstory often become famous within the collecting community. If a coin is known to have a unique error or to be one of only a handful ever discovered, it can attract intense bidding wars at auction. This is how the market value can skyrocket into the millions. Let us talk about one such story tied to the 2004 D penny. Collectors have reported examples with unusual striking errors, doubling, and planchet anomalies. Some have been discovered in rolls of pennies directly from banks, others have surfaced years later tucked away in personal collections. When these coins were submitted for grading and certified by professional services, they astonished experts with their rarity and perfection. One of these specimens achieved a record price, and since then the legend of the 2004 D penny worth millions has only grown. It is important to understand that not every 2004 D penny is worth millions. In fact, most of them are still worth just 1 cent in circulation. However, there are rare specimens that meet the exact combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand that can reach astronomical figures. The story of the $74 million valuation is tied to one particular specimen that was certified as a unique rarity. Unlike any other known coin from that year, it was sold at a high-end auction where wealthy collectors vied to own this piece of numismatic history. The final hammer price shocked the world and cemented the reputation of the 2004 D penny as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence. Let us also examine the broader history of coin collecting to understand why such values are possible. Coin collecting, also known as numismatics, has been practiced for centuries. Wealthy individuals, rulers, and scholars collected coins not only for their value but also for their historical and artistic significance. In the United States, coin collecting gained widespread popularity in the 19th and 20th centuries when mints began producing commemorative designs and rare issues. Some collectors specialize in Lincoln cents alone, building entire collections based on every year and every mint mark from 1909 through the present. This is a massive undertaking spanning more than a century of history, so when a unique penny like the 2004 D specimen appears, it becomes a crown jewel in such collections. Now let us break down the design of the 2004 penny. The obverse with Abraham Lincoln's portrait is simple yet powerful. The words "In God We Trust" appear above his head. Liberty is to the left, and the year 2004 is to the right with the D Mint mark beneath it. On the reverse we have the Lincoln Memorial with the words "United States of America e pluribus unum" and 1 cent carefully inscribed. When viewed under magnification, collectors often study the tiniest details of the lettering and the strike to look for anomalies, doubling, or other error signs. These details can make all the difference between a common penny and one worth millions. So what does this mean for you? If you are someone who has a handful of 2004 pennies sitting in a jar or drawer, it is worth taking a closer look. You might not have the legendary $74 million coin, but you could have a specimen in mint state condition worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. Submitting your coin to a grading service could provide clarity on its true value. Another fascinating aspect is how coins like this can capture the imagination of the public. Stories about pennies worth millions often spread through media and social platforms, and they inspire people to check their change jars and collections. This has created a surge in interest in the Lincoln cent and coin collecting in general. For many, it becomes a hobby. For some, it becomes a lifelong passion, and for a lucky few, it can lead to incredible financial windfalls. Now let us talk about the psychology of rarity. Human beings are naturally drawn to objects that are rare, unique, and historically significant. Coins like the 2004 D penny embody all of these traits. They are tangible links to history. They are objects that almost everyone has handled in daily life, yet a rare few specimens hold value that rivals art masterpieces and luxury items. This duality between the ordinary and the extraordinary is what makes coin collecting so compelling. Let us also discuss the marketplace for such coins. Major auction houses like Heritage Auction, Stack's Bowers, and others often host dedicated coin auctions where collectors and investors gather to bid on rare specimens. These auctions can see intense competition and record-breaking prices. A $74 million penny is not just a coin, it is a statement piece for the buyer, a way to own a tangible piece of American history and to be known as the custodian of something that no one else in the world possesses. As we approach the end of this discussion, let us reflect on the incredible journey of the 2004 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that started its life in the Denver Mint, struck by machines in vast numbers, worth just 1 cent in face value, has now reached a mythical status in the world of numismatics. It is a story of history, of design, of rarity, of human fascination, and of the unpredictable nature of value. For collectors, the lesson is clear: always pay attention to the details, always study your coins, always preserve them carefully, because you never know which one might be hiding a secret fortune. For the rest of us, it is a reminder that even the most ordinary objects in our lives can sometimes hold extraordinary stories. So next time you come across a penny from 2004, especially one with a D Mint mark, take a closer look, inspect the details, check the condition, and consider its history. You may be holding more than just a piece of copper-coated zinc. You may be holding a ticket to a story that has captivated the world of collectors and that could one day change your life. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a deep dive into one of the most fascinating coins in United States history, the 1994 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent penny coin. This little copper-colored piece of metal might look ordinary at first glance, but within the world of coin collecting it has developed an almost mythical reputation, not only because of its design and history but also because of some rare varieties and the extraordinary values collectors are willing to pay in today's market. In fact, some examples have been reported with valuations soaring as high as $90 million, which makes it one of the most talked about modern-era pennies in existence. To understand the story of the 1994 D penny, we first need to step back and look at the broader context of the Lincoln cent. The Lincoln 1 cent coin was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. President Theodore Roosevelt had personally pushed for a redesign of the nation's coinage, and the famous sculptor Victor David Brenner was chosen to create the design. The coin featured a profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, making it the first regular-issue United States coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. For decades, the Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage. It went through different compositions, design modifications, and minting changes during the Second World War. For instance, copper was needed for the war effort, so the penny was temporarily struck and steel-coated with zinc in 1943. This was one of the biggest shifts in the history of the cent. By the 1980s, the penny transitioned from being made mostly of copper to being made of copper-plated zinc. This was due to the rising cost of copper and the need to maintain production at low expense. By the time we arrive at the 1990s, the Lincoln cent was still a very familiar coin in American pockets. In 1994, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies carrying the small letter D beneath the date to signify the mint mark. At first glance, these coins appeared like any other, yet in the world of numismatics, tiny details make an enormous difference. Collectors look for mint errors, unique die varieties, double dies, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that can transform a common 1-cent coin into a priceless treasure. The 1994 D penny quickly became a focus of attention because of rare minting varieties that appeared during production. Some examples showed doubling in the lettering or on Lincoln's profile, others displayed unusual striking errors or planchet flaws because minting technology was not perfect. Even in the 1990s, mistakes sometimes occurred, and in the eyes of collectors, mistakes often mean money. These errors are what set apart a coin worth 1 cent from a coin worth thousands, and in extreme cases, millions. Now let us talk about how a coin like the 1994 D penny could ever be connected to a jaw-dropping market value of $90 million. At first, it may sound impossible, but here is how it happens. In numismatics, rarity, condition, demand, and provenance are the 4 key ingredients that determine price. Rarity comes from how few of a certain type of coin exist. Condition refers to the grade of the coin, whether it is worn from circulation or in pristine mint state. Condition, demand refers to how many collectors are actively competing to own such a coin, and provenance refers to the coin's history and whether it has been part of famous collections or has a well-documented story. There have been a handful of 1994 D pennies discovered in nearly flawless condition, some graded by professional grading services at the highest levels, such as Mint State 69 Red and Deep Cameo designations. These are extraordinary grades for a coin that was mass-produced and meant for circulation. When such a coin is certified and enters an auction, the bidding can become fierce. Wealthy collectors, institutions, and museums may all battle to own such a rarity. This competition pushes prices higher and higher. One of the most interesting aspects of the 1994 D penny is the speculation around ultra-rare mint errors rumored to exist but seldom seen by the public. For instance, stories circulate about double-struck 1994 D pennies that escaped the mint and survived in pristine condition. Others tell of off-metal strikes where a Lincoln cent was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin. Such errors are extremely rare, and when authenticated, they can command astronomical values. When news spreads in the collecting community about a rare coin selling for record-breaking numbers, it ignites the imagination of everyday people. Suddenly, everyone begins to check their pockets, their piggy banks, and old coin jars in the hope of discovering a fortune sitting unnoticed among spare change. This happened with the 1994 D penny. Reports of sales in the millions brought attention to the coin, and over time legends grew to the point that collectors began speaking of values reaching as high as $90 million. While not every sale has been publicly verified, the very possibility created a mystique that still surrounds the coin today. Let us now focus on the history of the Denver Mint itself, since the D Mint mark plays a central role in this story. The Denver Mint was established in 1906 and has since been responsible for producing billions of coins for circulation. Denver coins are often sought by collectors because the mint has produced some of the most famous era coins in American history, such as the 1955 double die cent, the 1970 small date varieties, and others. The 1994 D cent fits right into this tradition of Denver Mint surprises for collectors today. The dream is to find a 1994 D penny in uncirculated mint state condition with brilliant red luster, untouched by time. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and while most pennies from 1994 grade at circulated levels of very fine or extremely fine, a tiny handful exist in the upper mint state ranges. This is where the true treasure lies. A single coin graded perfectly and carrying an era variety could be worth millions, and as demand grows, estimates of potential market value have ballooned to the legendary $90 million figure we talk about today. Now imagine the journey of one of these coins. It was struck in 1994, placed into circulation, perhaps passed through hundreds of hands in Denver, Colorado, or somewhere else. In the American economy at the time, no one would have thought twice about it. It might have been used to pay for candy, a phone call, or simply tossed into a jar for spare change. Yet decades later, that same coin could be pulled out, examined closely under magnification, graded by experts, and revealed to be one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents ever produced. Collectors often ask what makes the 1994 D penny so special compared to other Lincoln cents. The answer lies in the combination of scarcity and condition millions of 1994 pennies exist, but only a tiny fraction are era coins. Only a smaller fraction of those have survived in high grades, and only a select few of those have ever reached auction houses with global visibility. This pyramid of rarity explains how a coin that costs 1 cent to make could be valued at tens of millions in the right circumstances. When we talk about coin values at this extreme level, we also need to understand the psychology of collecting. Humans have always placed value on rarity and uniqueness, from gemstones to paintings to sports memorabilia. A coin is both a piece of history and a work of art. It is tangible, it carries a story, it connects us to the time in which it was minted and to the people who used it. When collectors compete for ownership, they are not only buying metal, they are buying prestige, history, and exclusivity. This emotional value is what drives market numbers into the stratosphere. Now let us break down the market trends over the last 3 decades. Since 1994, in the late 90s, these coins were still considered modern and not many collectors paid attention to them. Most were valued at face value or slightly above. However, by the early 2000s, with the rise of the internet, coin collecting forums and auction houses began to highlight modern era coins. More and more attention was directed toward the 1994 cent in particular because of unusual finds. By 2010, certified high-grade examples were already reaching tens of thousands of dollars. By 2020, a frenzy of modern collectors emerged and prices climbed dramatically, and by 2025 it is not uncommon to see claims of $90 million valuations circulating within the numismatic community. This leads us to one of the most important lessons for collectors: the possibility that treasure might be sitting in your change jar at home. Never underestimate the value of coins, even those from the modern era. Too often people assume only coins from the 1800s or the early 1900s hold value, but the truth is that minting errors and rare varieties can happen in any year. The 1994 penny proves this point in spectacular fashion. So if you are wondering how to identify a potentially valuable 1994 penny, here are a few tips. First, examine the coin under good lighting. Look carefully at the date and mint mark to check for doubling or irregularities. Second, inspect the lettering around the edge for signs of doubling. Third, check if the coin appears off-center, thicker on one side, thinner on the other, which indicates an off-strike. Fourth, weigh the coin to confirm whether it matches the standard specification. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of numismatics, the story of the 2002 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin, a piece of copper-plated zinc that has stirred the imagination of collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters across the globe. This ordinary-looking coin carries with it a history that ties into more than a century of American coinage, and in some cases certain era versions or rare varieties are believed by collectors to hold a staggering market value, with some claims reaching up to $64 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny potentially valued at more than the cost of entire mansions, rare luxury cars, or even a lifetime fortune. To understand why such a coin carries so much weight in the hearts of collectors, we have to go back in time and explore the origins of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first struck in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Before that, Americans were used to the Indian head cent, a design that had been on coins since the 1850s. When the mint decided to replace the Indian head design, it was a big deal, since never before had a real person been placed on an American circulating coin. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, was chosen because of his deep popularity with the American people and because his presidency had saved the Union during the Civil War. The artist behind the design was Victor David Brenner. His initials VDB were originally placed on the reverse of the coin at the bottom, but the public reaction was so strong against it that the mint removed the initials within months. Collectors today know that those first coins with VDB on the back are worth big money, but the Lincoln cent itself remained a mainstay of American pockets and cash registers for more than a century. Fast forward through decades of history and design changes, from the wheat ears reverse that ran until 1958 to the Lincoln Memorial reverse introduced in 1959, and then later to the Union Shield reverse beginning in 2010. The Lincoln cent has been the longest-running coin in American history. It has seen wars, economic crashes, social revolutions, and generations of Americans grow up carrying them without much thought. But the coin we focus on today is from the year 2002. 2002. The United States Mint was still producing the Lincoln Memorial design. The coin at that time was made primarily of zinc with a thin Plating of copper. Unlike the older wheat cents that were almost entirely copper, the change happened back in 1982 when the mint shifted away from expensive copper and switched to zinc. The 2002 penny therefore looks like many other modern cents, shiny red when new but quick to darken and fade over time. Now, why would a 2002 no mint mark Lincoln cent be so special? After all, billions were struck that year. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint alone produced nearly 3 billion cents, and Denver struck even more with its D-mint mark. The Philadelphia coins usually appear without any mint mark at all, which to most people makes them ordinary. However, certain coins slip through production lines with errors that make them extraordinary, and in the world of collecting, errors are gold. One possibility lies in double die errors, where the coin's image shows doubling of letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's face. Another lies in off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned. Sometimes coins are struck on the wrong planchet, or struck multiple times, and these errors can create one-of-a-kind rarities. When it comes to the 2002 no mint mark cent, the attention comes from certain misstrikes and rare preserved examples that are graded by top certification companies as perfect condition. In the coin world, condition is king. A coin pulled straight from circulation with scratches, marks, and where may only be worth a cent or two above face value, but a coin that has never been touched, one that shines as though it just left the mint press, and is then certified as MS-70, which means perfect by grading services like PCGS or NGC, can skyrocket in price. Collectors who chase perfection are willing to spend huge sums for that top grade because they know how rare it is to find a flawless example from billions of coins. When we talk about the current market value of $64 million for a 2002 no mint mark penny, we are not suggesting that every single penny from that year is worth a fortune. In fact, 99.9% of them are worth only 1 cent, maybe a few cents if someone is feeling generous. But in the upper stratosphere of the market, where rarity, perfection, and collector demand collide, certain stories emerge of astronomical sales or appraisals, sometimes fueled by bidding wars between passionate collectors, sometimes by rumors, and sometimes by genuine documented sales at major auction houses. Imagine a coin so perfect or so unique in error that collectors begin fighting for it. The price climbs higher and higher, and eventually you get figures like $64 million. Such events are not common, they are once-in-a-lifetime stories, but they are enough to set the numismatic community on fire. And every time a story like this surfaces, ordinary people rush to check their pockets, their piggy banks, and their old jars of coins hidden away in cupboards, because who knows, maybe they too could be holding a fortune. Let us take a moment to talk about the broader context of rare pennies, because to understand the 2002 coin we must see it as part of a tradition of incredible rarities. The 1943 copper penny is one of the most famous because during World War II pennies were struck in steel coated with zinc to save copper for the war effort. A few slipped through in copper, and today they are worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. The 1955 double-die penny is another legend, with its dramatic doubling on the date and inscriptions fetching thousands at auction. The 1972 double-die cent also makes headlines, and the 1982 small-date copper transition cents carry immense collector value. The 2002 no-mint mark penny finds itself mentioned in the same breath because when a coin is discovered with either extreme rarity or top condition, collectors rally around it. Some believe that only a few flawless examples survive untouched from mint rolls, and those who own them treat them like treasures. They do not spend them at the store, they do not toss them into change jars. They keep them locked away in vaults with protective cases, climate control, and insurance. Now let us picture the emotional side of this. Imagine you walk down the street and buy a coffee. The cashier gives you a handful of change among the copper-colored discs. You notice a 2002 penny. You toss it into your pocket and forget it. But later that evening you empty your pocket and hold the penny to the light. It looks fresh, clean, sharp, and then you read an article about rare modern coins and your heart skips a beat. What if this ordinary-looking penny is worth millions? You take it to a dealer, the dealer sends it to a grading service, the grader opens the package, looks through a magnifier, and realizes this is not just any penny, it is a flawless one, or one with an extraordinary error, a discovery piece. The value explodes. This is why coin collecting continues to inspire millions of people, because it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the 2002 penny story is one of those legends. So how can you know if your 2002 no-mint mark penny is valuable? The first step is to look at its condition. If it is scratched, dirty, or worn, chances are it is only worth face value, but if it looks brand new with full shine, strong details, and no marks, it could be worth more. Step 2 is to check for errors. Look at the date, the letters, the edges. Does anything look doubled, off center, missing, or unusual? If so, that might be the sign of a rare variety. Step 3 is professional grading, sending your coin to a service like PCGS or NGC to have experts examine and certify it. This step can make the difference between a coin worth a cent and a coin worth thousands, or even millions. Collectors also look for provenance, meaning the history of a coin. If a coin has been part of famous collections or discovered in historic hoards, its value rises further. Some collectors are willing to pay premiums just to own a coin that once belonged to a legendary numismatist or appeared in a famous auction catalog. As of today, the story of the 2002 no-mint mark penny continues to circulate among enthusiasts, with claims of $64 million valuations. Whether based on rumor, rare era discovery, or one-of-a-kind perfection, it captures the imagination and drives excitement. This is why collectors say always check your change. You never know what you might be holding. In closing, the 2002 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It is a symbol of possibility. It teaches us that something as small as a cent can carry immense history, artistry, and value. It reminds us that treasures can hide in plain sight, and it proves that collecting is not just about money, it is about passion, history, preservation, and the thrill of discovery. So next time you hold a penny in your hand, take a closer look, because you never know, it might just be the key to unimaginable wealth. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the world of rare pennies, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video with friends who might be interested in checking their coins. Who knows, maybe the next great discovery is waiting in their pocket too. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep collecting.